Osmosis is uncured intermediate layer deep in the construction in the laminate. The water gets into that area where we've got this softer polyester resin, if you like, and then starts to create an acid with some big long fancy name. All right. The acid is what then, when we're sanding the bottom of our boat, and we start to see pimples literally on the bottom of the boat. This is the least detrimental problem that we can experience with osmosis, is this blistering. Polyester resin, as with epoxy resin, are both hygroscopic. They can both take on water. They're not porous. They're not going to soak water through in any way, shape or form. They will take a quantity of moisture into the construction of the laminate that's already cured. Polyester resin specifically, not epoxy, polyester resin, when we have a thick enough laminate that's been laid up not in incorrect conditions, but quickly in a high moisture environment, the way that this guy describes it, never fully cures. Until like the late or mid 90s, I don't believe most boat builders of the world, this is very much Ross's opinion, really understood the post-cure that needs to occur on polyester laminate construction. The post-cure, meaning the whole construction taken up to 40 degrees plus and held for a period of time, an hour or two, at that 40 degrees plus, was all it took to completely eradicate osmosis ever taking place in our 60s, 70s, 80s boats. Yeah?
And that had to be done shortly after they were made, or that could be done?
It can be done at any point, and that's what this machine is that I've got on here, right? So it'll be sort of the first, you've bought the boat, nobody's told you anything about osmosis, you've sanded over the bottom of the boat and it's come up literally, you're starting to see little pimples come through the paint construction. You've got little tiny pimples sticking out the bottom of the boat, and you've just shaved the top of them, literally like the teenage boy kind of thing without bad acne. You've taken the top off. You've just discovered that you've got superficial osmosis, all right? At its worst case, that tracking that we talked about into the substrate laminate can actually blister and blow apart, form large cavities, high pressures, and actually pull the laminate back apart. That's the worst case scenario, where you get large delamination due to osmosis, all right? Again, both things are exactly the same. What it means is that in the pimply construction, you've got solid enough substrate that the moisture hasn't been able to track into, or there isn't any soft substrate down in the laminate. It's just at a superficial layer, right? Good. It's like the few, I haven't got massive delamination. So there's also another misunderstanding of the pressure differential of the water squeezing itself into this capillary action. Not a thing. It's totally capillary action from the very inherent nature that these plastics are hygroscopic and can take on water. Okay, what do we do about it? With the blisters, which is all we're ever going to actually get involved in, anything big repair to do, we're going to give to someone that knows what they're doing, because we're talking about the actual the strength, the inherent strength of the boat. But if we're talking about these blisters, again with the Dremel and or countersink, big countersink tip on a drill, and go around and literally pop all those blisters. And put some goggles on, because there's some nasty shit flying out, these acids as we're talking about, right? The advice I then received, which is concurrent with this chap here's work, is that we want to flush the acid out of those pop marks. So with an acetone in a syringe, we're literally going to go around and squirt acetone and flush this, scrub it with a little stiff little brush in there, do whatever it takes, and repeatedly over a week or two, you're flushing this acid out until there's no residue turning up at all. And then very simply, he says, once that's stopped leaching any kind of nasty out of there, we're then going to epoxy repair probably micro balloons or something or another back into those divots that we've created. This is a very movable feast. If we've got pick for example a French production boat from the early 90s where we've got hull construction down to 10 mil, we need to be very careful about sticking a countersink bit into the side of it and saying that's all okay, mate. West System produce a total guide to the repair that I'm talking about of the small blister. Yeah, so you free download PDF, West System website, they'll tell you all about it. Right, just to give you an indication of what the full repair for now, I've got deep delaminations or anything larger than a tiny pock mark on the bottom of my boat, I now need to reduce the level of moisture in the hull. I need to draw out any acid buildups from blisters, whatnot, and I need to post-cure the whole laminate. Okay, so the machine that this dude's developed is a vacuum pad. So they strip using a power plane all of the gel coat right back to raw fiberglass in the affected area. They stick a drying pad, a vacuum pad. So this is a big vacuum machine. So 1 meter by 1 meter, go over the whole of the hull underneath the boat. They use temperature senders on the inside skin to control the duration of the thing, with moisture sensors under there as well, and they're basically drawing out and then re-curing what's there. Not a cheap exercise. There are versions of this repair you see all around the boatyards of the world, right? Different boat builders, different ideas. Again, the reason why this guy went to the lengths he did was because he was doing all of the different repairs, and years later, 3, 4, 5 years later, the same boat's coming back with the same problem after doing these stripping, planing, putting heat lamps under, getting moisture down, but no post-cure heat soak. All right, and that's what these pads do. They take the whole, don't ask me the temperature, but you can do your own homework online. It takes it up to a certain temperature, holds it there for a certain length of time, whilst drawing all the nasties out, and basically returning your softened, moisture-laden, acid-ridden laminate back to hard, solid boat again.